This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Millennials and baby boomers alike, they want to be in urban environments right now.
Thank God for the Electoral College vote.
In a 4-hour breakfast, we raised $9,000. So that's something that we take pretty seriously.
And you can't diet your way into being lean and fit. They go together.
In New York City, deciding what's best for the rest of the freaking country.
This is not a market built on a stack of cards. It's a solid foundation.
0%. That is a thumbs up.
Everyone has a life worth telling a story about. And the more adversity that you faced, the deeper your story.
Well, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to walk?
There's just so much creativity in this town that it's hard to hide it.
Well, you have these beliefs. Well, what do you do with it?
Our next guest is here to share a day in the life of a realtor. Please welcome the team leader of Team Manzon, Anthony Manzon.
Here he is, Mr. Manzon. How you
What
doing,
is
buddy?
up? I'm
All
good,
right.
man.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
The desk is back, feeling good.
Back.
Zeb.
Yeah.
So today I want to ask you, kind of go behind the scenes a little bit. I know we talked about this earlier. Just peel back the curtain because the real estate market's been good for a number of years now. I continue to hear people every day saying things like, "Oh, I should get into real estate," and nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But I think that sometimes when the market gets really good, people think it's easy money. They think, "Oh, well, being a real estate agent's easy money. You just open the door and you make thousands of dollars in commissions."
Oh boy.
Can we shed some light? On the reality, and I don't want to beat it down. I don't want to make it seem like it's something that's an impossible thing to do, mm-hmm. but also want to make sure that people understand the reality behind what does it take to be a successful agent. You're in your third year now?
3.5 years now.
3.5 years now.
Went by quick.
Yeah, went by quick, but that's so you can give some real perspective to any new agents out there about what it's like to come up in this game.
Mm-hmm. So the great thing about talking about this topic is we're going to tell you what it's really like to be an agent, not what we see like on HGTV, like, "Oh, I love the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I think I'll be an amazing agent." Because, those are great shows, great entertainment, but that's not really what you do on an everyday basis. You just see the product of their hard work. So usually in our business, it's not about selling houses. We always say that our business is actually about prospecting, lead generating. So usually my day starts waking up early, saying my affirmations, and just taking a step backwards, I realized that in order to be a great agent and be productive, you have to actually embody the lifestyle of a realtor. You can't just say, "I'm going to clock in, clock out, and the business will happen." You actually have to, take the actions of a top producer, think like a top producer, and then you'll have the results of a top producer. So it starts by waking up early, exercising, being very disciplined. That's actually the hardest part of our business is being disciplined because when you don't have an employer telling you, you have to be in at 8 o'clock, you have to be in at 7 o'clock, it's very easy to say, "You know what, I'm going to go in at 11 o'clock today." And the hardest part about being a business owner is the discipline to actually do what you're supposed to do. And so it starts out in the morning, you get into the office, lead generate for 3 hours. Nothing else happens in the morning but lead generating. And there's no wrong way to build a business.
What does that look like when you say lead generating? Help me out. Help me understand. 3 hours sounds like a long time.
Oh, it's a long time, yeah.
So when you say lead generating, what are people actually doing?
Great question. So taking a step back from there, there's no wrong way to lead generate. Every agent has different techniques to finding clients. So some agents specialize in open houses. Some agents specialize in cold calling. Some specialize in door knocking. Whatever your process is to finding clients, dedicate 3 hours a day to doing that. For me personally, in the mornings for 3 hours, I do calls to my database and I cold call neighborhoods promoting our grand opening open houses. So
Gotcha.
That's what I do to find business.
Okay. So whatever it is that you're doing, plan on 3 hours a day.
Minimum.
3 hours a day. Okay.
Taking even further than that, maybe it's not 3 hours a day. What my team and I do is 100 contacts a week. So sometimes, if you want to take 1 day off a week or 2 days off a week, make sure you hit your 100 contacts a week. So that's really 20 contacts a day. That means talking to 20 different people, asking them, who do you know that's going to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate that I can help today?
Gotcha.
It's either 3 hours or talk to those 20 people.
Whatever your number is for however many days you're putting in.
Yeah. For my team and my business, we know that if you talk to 100 people a week, the magic is in the numbers, and results will happen if you talk to 100 a week.
Okay, so you kind of backed into, hey, this is the number of people to talk to ultimately get out to here to the results that you're looking for.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
After that, so we lead generate 9 to 12 o'clock, have our 30-minute lunch, and then for the rest of the day, we either go on appointments for buyers, educating them on the home buying process, talking about whether or not we're going to be working together, or meetings with sellers, going over what's their house worth, what's our marketing plan. If you don't have any appointments with buyers or sellers, you continuously lead generate until you're done at 5 o'clock. So it's either you're lead generating, you're going on appointments. If you don't have appointments, you lead generating even more. And there's days where you don't have appointments, so you lead generate from 8 to 5 o'clock.
There might be some days too where you probably have appointments all day.
Yeah, and there are days where you have appointments all day.
And that's good. That's the reflection of the lead generation that's been done.
Yeah, exactly. And typically that doesn't happen too much, appointments all day, because we know that the real estate business is 3 months out. The people you talk to today, you're going to see the business happen in 3 months from now. Why? Because when you meet someone, they're most likely not saying, I need to buy a house right now, I'm pre-approved right now, and I don't have a realtor, so let's buy a house right now. There's usually a process they have to go through. There's the 1 month escrow. So most of the times you meet them at day one, and then 3 months later you're getting paid. So if you're going on appointments all day, in 3 months, you didn't prospect enough to build your business in 3 months. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So typically when we book our appointments, we schedule them at the back half of the day. So at least we have our lead generation in the morning.
I think that it's also important for home sellers to know this.
Oh, yeah.
And home buyers for that matter. Because I think a lot of times, especially in a good up market like this, you hear home sellers, and I hear them, I talk to them every single day, saying things like, oh, well, this house is going to sell itself. I can put it on the market on my own, or I can sell it myself. So I think it's important for people to know exactly what goes into the selling of a home. Because now you're not just talking, so let's say you've done your prospecting and you have someone who wants to sell their home. The work's not done.
No, heck no. Not even close. That's the beginning of it.
So I think that's important for home sellers to know, as well as prospective agents. Someone, if you want to be in the real estate business, great business to be in, but it is a lifestyle too.
Right? It is, for sure. It's a lifestyle. I mean, I talk about it with my team all the time. Successful realtors at a high level, they just think differently than, I would say, the average realtor. I would say they're very growth minded. It's more about growing yourself, growing your business, and becoming a strong business owner so that you can give the best experience possible to your clients.
Gotcha. So is that the mindset of most people, or like who's a good candidate? I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm a social butterfly, so I would be a good realtor. I mean, is that true? Is there anything that you can look to?
So there's no wrong personality for real estate. Anyone can be successful in real estate, I would say, but you need two things for sure. Number one, you need to have a big why, because there's a lot of days where you're going to get doors slammed on your face. There's a lot of days you're going to get cold calls, you're going to get hung up on. People don't always have to say the nicest things to you. You just have to have a big why. And when I first started in this business, I had a wedding coming up. It was a 250-person wedding. It was September, and then eventually became January. My wedding was April, and I didn't close any deals. And I worked so hard. I worked every single day, and April came, I was able to pay off my wedding because I had a big why. Pushed me through all the reasons not to be disciplined and not wake up early. I woke up like, oh, I got a wedding in April, I gotta go work. And so you gotta have a big why. Number two, or you have to have a big why, and you gotta be hungry. You gotta be hungry for the business. Number two is you have to be disciplined or be aware that you don't have the strongest discipline so that you can work on it. Because you can be, hungry and have a big why, but if you're saying, I'm going to stay out till 2 o'clock and party, then wake up at 10, the business is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen that way. So you got to have those two things.
Okay. So big why and discipline. Those are the two most important factors.
I would say those really are the most important things. I mean, I know agents, like when I first started, I was 24 and none of my friends were looking to buy. So some people say, oh, you have to know a lot of people to be successful. I mean, not really. I mean, I knew people, but they weren't buying houses. So I had to find people outside of my database looking to buy. So when I started, I did a lot of open houses. I did 5 open houses a week. And then some days I did 4 in one weekend, so it's crazy.
That's interesting. I've always thought that would be a good way to get started if you were getting started in the business. So if someone is a newer agent or wants to become an agent, can we give them your number and have them call you and just, give them the reality of the situation, like what they can expect, how long it'll take to make money, and all those things.
Of course,
that I'm sure
of
people have
course.
questions about.
Yeah, I encourage you to call me. I'm always going to be an open book. I don't want you to waste your time, and if there's any way that I can help you succeed, I mean, I'm here for it. So
awesome stuff, Anthony Manzon. Thank you so much for coming in today and peeling back the curtain on what it takes to actually be a successful real estate agent here in the San Diego marketplace. Of course, stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Our next guests are here to drop some knowledge on the home selling process. Give it up for the broker of Lepe Tenwell Properties, Voltaire Lepe, and his guest, co-host of Home Seller University, sfrancisco.
All right, welcome back to the show. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Lepe Tenwell Properties in the house.
Yes, we are.
Talking about today topic that's very important in every market for home sellers to know what's going on, to have a clue, essentially, before they hit the marketplace, before they start looking for an agent, in fact. It's very important in this market that we're in right now, as it always is. Let's first talk about the whys. So, you've created a video series.
Correct.
Right, Voltaire?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
In real estate, over the last 14 years, I've noticed that a lot of home sellers aren't properly educated. A lot of them, and buyers, I ask them, hey, do you know how we get paid? They go, no. You know what's going on with your home or how to sell, and they're just, well, we put a sign up and it's sold. So I think it's very, we have to educate sellers because it's probably one of the biggest financial decisions they're ever going to make in their life. Selling a $300,000 home, selling a $700,000 home, whatever price it is. It's not like going down to Nordstrom's and, buying some jeans, right? It's an actual huge decision, and you should be educated. And even though there's a lot of good real estate agents out there that you could hire and they could do it for you, it's still good to know how the process works.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've created it's at homesellerschool.com is where the video series is. So
yeah,
anyone can access it.
Yeah, so you could go homesellerschool.com, fill in your information, and then you have instant free access. And you could basically, it's like a home seller university. You could go on there and just find out exactly, how to sell a home, what goes in it, how to get top dollar, or whatever's important to you. Some people just want a fast, quick sell because they need to be somewhere else. Other people just want top dollar. Other people, they don't want any headaches when selling. So whatever you want, you can learn there.
Okay. Right. And I think you're right, because a lot of times what I see when I talk to a lot of home sellers when casting for Win This Listing, and sometimes they're just, they're way out there. So I think it's great that you guys have done this.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Because this is, when you're selling your home, you're also cashing in on your investment too. So it's right at this moment here, the decisions that you make are so crucial, they're going to determine exactly what you walk away with.
Correct.
Exactly.
And a $20,000 mistake is a lot of times $20,000 that directly does not go into your bank account, that could have.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's really, really big. Sydney, what are some of the main points here?
When we started filming this, I think as a person who hopefully will want to be our first-time home buyer in a few years, I actually learned a lot just from kind of being his host. Every episode that we filmed, there was something new that I learned. So this series is going to cover all of the do's and don'ts, everything that you didn't think about, it's all in there. And I think that we had a lot of fun doing it too.
Yeah, for sure. It was a lot of fun. And, going through this, as Sydney was hosting the show, I mean, I could really see, she was asking really good questions. And I think she saw a lot of value in these episodes that we created. Yeah. And she kind of didn't even know that there's so much to actually selling a home. Mm-hmm.
Let's try to get to some of those points, some of the top ones. What are some of the things, Voltaire, that you could give us today? Maybe some of the main topics that you covered at Home Seller School.
So I think the biggest thing, because I like sleeping good at night, right? And if I sell a home, help a seller sell their home, I don't want to get a phone call 6 months later, a year later, because something that wasn't done right, the home wasn't sold properly. So the first thing, I think, one of the biggest things is the legal aspects of just protecting yourself when selling your home, disclosing everything that you're supposed to disclose per California state law. For example, I was with a seller yesterday, and we're going through the process of listing their home, getting all the paperwork signed, and I have a checklist. And in the checklist, I found out that someone had passed away in the property in the last few months. So by law they have to disclose that. Yep. And then it's one of those things where it's a skillful act of trying to market and sell that property and not scare away a lot of buyers, number one. Number two, not taking less money than what they could get. Because whenever someone passed away in a property, I could definitely see, I've seen people lose money or their property worth less. But so you need a lot of skill to sell that type of property. So long story short, I told them, hey, we have to disclose this. And their first thing was, they're like, well, we're gonna get less, and do we have to tell them how they passed away? Yeah. And I told them a story about a property I sold in the Kearney Mesa area where the person actually ended up committed suicide, and we got top dollar for that home, believe it or not. But I told them, hey, don't worry about it. We're gonna disclose it properly. We're gonna market it properly, and you're gonna get top dollar. So I think just protecting yourself, the legal aspect is one huge thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I didn't know either. The disclosures part was the best part for me because that was the main points that I really didn't know, that there was so many things that you needed to disclose, that being one of them.
For sure. Another thing, if we could jump into like a second topic,
sure.
Which is covered in the home seller series, by the way. Every episode is a different topic. Mm-hmm. So another topic is leaving money on the table. There's a lot of sellers that just leave a lot of money on the table when selling their home. Same home I went in yesterday, right? I was meeting with them. They said, well, we met with 2 other realtors, and the other 2 realtors told us that we could just sell it as is. We don't have to worry about it. They could sell it tomorrow. And I said, hey, I could do that too. And if you hired me to do that, I'll do it. But if you do these items, it was like some painting in one of the bathrooms. It was some carpet throughout the home because it hadn't been upgraded since like the 70s. And it was a little bit of cleanup, a lot of cleanup, right? And I said, if you do these things, you could put another $10,000 to $15,000 in your pocket, right? And no one else shared that with them, right? And I remember myself being a young realtor, I would go in there and just, hey, let's sell it the way it is. If we sell fast, we get paid fast, everyone's happy, right? But what I wasn't thinking is, because, let's say a $500,000 sale like this house is, $500,000 seems like a lot. So when you think, well, if we do all these items and wait another month or two, you can make another $10,000 to $15,000. $10,000 to $15,000 doesn't sound like much in the grand scheme of things. So, being a home seller, if you find out how to not leave money on the table through this video series, then that's another $10,000 to $15,000. That could buy a lot of money.
Yeah,
I mean a lot of items.
Yeah, no question. Especially because, like I said, that's when you're cashing out on this investment. You want to maximize that.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you've lived in the house 20 years, 30, 40 years, wouldn't you want to take another month or 2? Yeah. To squeeze that extra little bit of water out of the washcloth.
Yeah, it's not even
get
a
little
bit.
bit more money in your
pocket.
pocket.
Yeah, you have to do it. I mean, it's also good for the neighborhood. It's good for the neighbors. It's good for everybody. Yeah. The buyers too. You're probably going to get walk-in buyers. Family versus an investor or something in that situation too.
Yeah.
And
those
are all good things.
In that video series, we talk about the staging part of it. Do you need to stage it? If so, can it just be like rearranging the furniture, not hiring a company to come in there and do it? We talk about cleaning it. We talk about the condition of the property, making some minor repairs and things like that. We talk about pricing it right to get top dollar, which is huge. We talk about the negotiation. So there's a lot that goes into just that one episode on not leaving money on the table.
I think everybody should watch that episode.
Yes. For sure. It's one of the most
selling
important ones.
No one wants to leave money on the table.
Nope.
So homeselerschool.com. Can you give us one more, Voltaire, maybe?
Sure. So another one that we had talked about was just being efficient as a seller and getting it sold right the first time.
Yeah, so that's doing your due diligence.
Right.
And finding the right agent.
Yeah, the right agent, picking the right buyer, right? So in this market right now as a home seller, you're getting a lot of offers on your home, and it's always choosing the right one. So the right one might not be, the one that's $10,000 above everyone else, right? So you got to pick a strong buyer, a buyer that's very serious. And because if not, you could go 2-3 weeks into an escrow, the buyer cancels, and all of a sudden you just lost 2-3 weeks. You go back on the market, and all the other buyers and agents are saying, what's wrong with that property? How come it, didn't sell? It looks like it's 30 days on the market now because somebody just ate up 2 2 to 3 weeks of your marketing time. So just being efficient, having a checklist while in escrow and before that you ask the other party, that you ask the sellers to make sure there isn't anything that pops up at the end of escrow that's going to allow for your deal to cancel.
Right, and I think that was the episode where we asked the question, can you time escrow? Is there like an actual timeline for escrow? And the answer technically is no, because you never know what's going to happen. But if you go through this checklist and you do all of these things and you're working with the right person, then you kind of can time it and you can be efficient when you're doing it too.
Yeah, you definitely give yourself an advantage.
Yes.
Versus a disadvantage. Lack of knowledge, disadvantage. Have knowledge, advantage. And that's what it's all about. Homeselerschool.com. This is free, right, for people to
absolutely
check
free, no obligation. You just go on there and you just learn. You know, if you like it, share it with anyone else that's thinking about selling. So I urge everybody to go out there, educate themselves because it's free. No matter who they're working with, whatever agent or they're trying to sell it themselves. We actually have an episode on selling it yourself.
We do.
So we just try to give out as much free education as possible.
Great stuff. Thank you guys so much for coming on today and doing all this hard work. This is really good stuff. Homeselerschool.com. And as promised, we will be back to make you smarter than everyone else. Stick around.
Is there still a home buying frenzy in San Diego? Our host is on Bubble Watch. Please give it up for Derrick Evens.
And we're off. We are live officially here on the Win This Listing Facebook page today for a very special message that I feel a duty to deliver. Now, as the host of the show on Win This Listing, I'm also in charge of casting homeowners and casting the real estate agents. So I talk to a lot of people who are selling their homes on a daily basis, and I talk to a lot of real estate agents on a daily basis. I also hosted a consumer financial talk show for 10 years on the radio prior to getting into TV. So I have been and have lived through the most recent real estate crash that we had. Now, the purpose of today's message is not to alarm you. It is not to cause a panic of any kind. However, we cannot ignore what we have learned over the years, especially in the world of finance, and specifically with regard to real estate here in San Diego, which is a very big deal for everyone. And where I come from in Missouri, real estate's not that big a deal. You buy a house for $100,000, 20 years later you sell it for $120,000. But some of the stories that we've been hearing lately are cause for concern, not to mention some of the data nationally that has come out that has mirrored the data that led ultimately to the most recent real estate crash. So what I want to spend the time talking to you about today is some of the warning signs that are out there. And if you are a homeowner and you have been waiting to sell your home, as many of the people who've actually done the show have told us, yeah, we've been wanting to sell for 2 years. Why haven't we sold? Well, because you're getting paid to wait, right? In an up market, if you're a homeowner and you're like, yeah, you know what, honey, we should sell the house. But every month you go by and you see, here's another person who sold in the neighborhood. Their house is sold for way more than we thought it would. Another person sold a house, sold for way more than we thought it would. Heck, we're getting paid to wait. We may as well sit it out. The problem is that that strategy doesn't work in the long run. In the long run, that means that everybody waits to put their house on the market until they have seen prices drop. And if prices drop a little bit and that causes everyone to put their homes on the market, that is what a real estate crash looks like. When you see that first bomb, I'm going to tell you today, I'm going to define the word comp bomb. Comp is a short term used for comparable. So when you hear real estate agents say comps or comp, they're talking about a comparable home. That means a home that's similar to yours. If a home that's similar to yours sells, that is considered to be a comp or a comparable sale that now is used to determine the value of your home. Specifically, over the course of the last 7 years, since we've seen prices go up and up and up every single year, you've seen comps go up and up and up. A comp bomb is when the first person, when the first seller that's really motivated, potentially desperate, sells well below what the current market value is and creates the new comp, a lower one, that lowers the value of your home. We call that a comp bomb. We're not really seeing those get dropped yet, but I'll tell you exactly why they are becoming more and more likely to happen in the near future. First, let's talk about the data nationwide. And by the way, I'm not warning you of a crash like 2008, but what I'm telling you is that this strong seller's market looks to be coming to an end in the near future. I could be wrong, of course, but I want to give you the facts that I have access to. I feel duty to bring it to you so that you can make the decision for yourselves as to whether or not this is a good time to sell or a good time to be greedy, a good time to sell or a good time to wait for a better time to sell. The choice is yours. So the information came out at the end of last year. In fact, it was in November, when we got the information from Business Insider. They did a survey of all of the municipalities and all of the foreclosure filings and notices of default that were filed across the entire country. What we noticed was that nationwide, there was about a 30% increase in default filings and about the same amount, 31% increase in foreclosures. I'm going to tag the article beneath in the comments so that you can read it for yourself. These areas, some areas, foreclosures went up 70%. Some areas 60%, 50%. But when you look at those areas, you go, oh, well, it's that place. Yeah, oh, it's Detroit. Oh, it's one of these cities. Of course, no one wants to live there. That's why they're seeing a crash. Those are the exact same things that people said last time we saw a crash here in San Diego. They said, of course, they're having trouble in Missouri and Michigan. They don't have the beach. We do, so we're okay. Another thing that we've heard people say a lot of that is dispelled in this article is that, well, people are fully qualifying for loans. Because people are fully qualifying for loans, they have to, you're not just giving loans to anyone who can fog a mirror anymore. You have to have income. You have to provide documentation. And because of that, it's safer than it was before. The difference is, and you'll see in the data, that only 8% of the loans that were done prior to the crash were loans that were done in the government sector, VA and FHA, and that number has skyrocketed in recent times. FHA and VA loans are great. They're great. They're government insured, low down payment loans, but those have become the new subprime. So even though people are fully qualifying for loans, they're still able to buy too much house. They're still able to buy more house than they can afford, and they're still able to buy homes that they wouldn't be able to buy if it weren't for FHA and VA, which means that they are a higher risk. We noticed in the last time when we saw the market go down that it was a psychological thing. There were plenty of people who could afford to make their payments. But when they found out that their home was worth $100,000 less than what they owed on it, they psychologically just couldn't write the check anymore. That's why we went through the loan modification nightmare. As of right now, we're only at the stage where we have the data that some places, some of the worst places in the country, have a huge spike in foreclosures. We're not seeing that happen in San Diego County yet. We're not seeing that. But what we did see was a rise in interest rates. So just a few months ago, we saw interest rates go up 0.5%, from about 3.5% to 4%. This is the equivalent of throwing a rock in a lake. That lake is full of all the fence-sitting home buyers, all the people who are sitting on the fence saying, should we buy? Oh no, prices keep going up. I don't want to buy now. I should have bought 2 years ago when I first started thinking about it. Well, those people who are sitting on the fence, when rates went up, the ones who are really motivated, that made them get off of their fence and get off their butts and get in there and buy. So we saw a frenzy. Rates go up, we see a frenzy. But the other people who fell off the fence, they said, oh no, rates are up, forget it now. Prices are up so much, we're not going to buy. So what happens is you see a quick frenzy, and we saw that, but there's a huge vacuum suck after that. And it's crickets. We don't have crickets right now. In fact, if you talk to any agent right now, they'll tell you properties are still flying off the shelves. People are still seeing multiple offer situations on homes that are even $800,000 or $900,000. We just saw one in Carlsbad I heard about today. Couldn't believe it. There's still a frenzy here in San Diego because there's an inventory shortage. Why? Because we haven't seen a comp bomb yet. But we're going to. And that's the next piece I want to give you. So interest rates have gone up. That rock has gone into the lake. The vacuum suck has happened. Certain buyers are now completely out of the market who were previously on the fence, which means our underneath layer, our protection in this marketplace just got thinner. Comp bombs have not been dropped yet, but they will. The higher prices go, the more equity people have. People who bought in 2010, 2011, 2012, those people have a lot of equity now. Those people can sell even if they don't get fair market value, and they can walk away with a profit. For example, let's say you bought a house in 2011 for $350,000. Today it's worth $550,000. You need to upgrade though. In that time, you've made 3 babies. So now you need to go get a bigger house. You've got a ton of equity for your new down payment. You go and you find the perfect house, but it's still a crazy market. So you have to put in a really strong offer, which means that you can't have a contingent offer. You have to sell your home. Well, your home is worth $550, but guess what? You only get an offer for $505. You have to take that offer, right? You have to take it because you need to get into your new house. And guess what? You still have $155,000 of profit. So the more prices go up, the better chance there is a comp bomb, because your house that you just sold for $505 just became the comp bomb that's going to cause, that's the first domino. So when the comp bomb drops, and it hasn't yet, this is why I'm telling you it is actually still a good time to be a seller in San Diego, but I think those days are numbered, and I'm concerned about it. I'm seeing sellers be greedy. I'm seeing agents be greedy. When that first comp bomb drops, now it resets the whole neighborhood. You sold your house for $505. Now all of your neighbors go, heck, they only got $505? We thought our places would be worth, $5.5. And they probably were right. But now you've created a new comparable sale. And that hurts everybody. Everyone who's been waiting around, not selling their house because they believe they are getting paid to wait, those people are now all going to list their home. They're going to say, okay, this crazy market's over. We need to get the house on the market. We need to move now because we really want to live there, or we really want a different kind of place, or whatever it was that you wanted. That's when all the homes come on the market. That's when the advantage changes from the sellers to the buyers. It can happen in a lot of different ways. Reminder, we are not there yet, but all the signs that we saw last time are all slowly creeping up. A lot of people are in denial about it. Agents being greedy, sellers being greedy. Be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful. Warren Buffett. So right now, I'm hearing stories. Agents out there, some who I love, bragging about double-ending deals. I've seen multiple situations where steering has taken place, illegal activity, for the sake of making money. We see a lot of people spending a lot of money in a lot of ways that remind you of pre-crash status. I'm seeing sellers say things that make no sense. Like, I know my home is only worth, $400, but I really want to get $500 for it. Can we list it at that? Things like that. Those are the types of conversations. Those are the types of things people were saying. That is the type of greed that is a red flag that lets you know that we may not be at the end, but it's near. Now, I'm not preaching that there's going to be some sort of real estate apocalypse in San Diego, but what I am telling you is this. The seller's market that we've been in, the straight up activity where incomes are going like this, but real estate prices are going like this, makes no sense. And it can't last forever. If you are a homeowner and you've been wanting to sell your home, or you have an investment that you need to sell in order to cash in on it, you may not find a better time than right now. In fact, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you get stuck. And I don't want to see that happen, especially if you've bought your home in the last year or two. If you have equity in your home and you want to live in a different place, or you want to live in a different type of home, if you don't sell now, you may be stuck in your home. And what I mean by that is when the value goes down, you might be in a situation where you have to stay there or you have to do a short sale. And there may not be very many other options for you. So, sellers, beware. I feel a duty to provide and pass along this information. I will tag the article down below because I believe you need to know what I'm seeing as someone who's on the inside, not a real estate agent. I can't sell your house. I stand to make no money or have no conflict for telling you this. If you are considering selling your home, be smart about it. Don't be greedy. You still have the advantage, but I don't know how much longer you will have that, and I don't want to see you leave money on the table, and I don't want to see you get stuck in your home. Hopefully that's helpful. I'll leave you with this. If you're a homeowner, if you own investment property, real estate, take a hard look at this. Take a real hard look at it. Would you be happy selling for the number of what your home is worth today? Because if you would, I would highly suggest you take that. Take that money off the table. If you're in one of those situations where you say, well, yeah, we need to sell, but we also need to buy, and that's a difficult circumstance, that's okay. You know, when you sell and buy in the same market, you're susceptible to the same circumstances. But in certain situations, you can have your cake and eat it too, depending upon what it is that you want to buy. So the key is, though, is exit. You can always enter. The key is exit. When you sell your home is when you make your money. When you sell your investment properties is when you make your money, right? That's when you actually get the money. So it's a crucial, crucial moment where you have to know what the market is really and truly going to yield. And right now, we have people pulling numbers out of their behinds and throwing it out there. And in some cases, it's actually working. It's wild. But here's the thing. It isn't going to last for long. We've seen this before. It doesn't last long. And we were on 7 straight years now. So with the foreclosures piling up across the country, with the data increasing, with the trajectory increasing, with the huge number of FHA and VA loans that have been executed and that people are currently owning homes with, knowing that those low down payment loans are very similar to the subprime loans that did get us into trouble, I have a lot of concerns. I've seen greedy sellers, greedy agents, and not any comp bombs yet, but they will come. And when they do, I hope you are where you want to be when that happens. Thank you for your time today. I hope it's helpful. Derrick Evens, signing off.
Our next guest wants you to be aware of the costly dangers of overpricing your home. Please welcome the owner of Story Estates, Elizabeth Story.
And we're live. All right. With the champ. Woo! As promised, Elizabeth Story is here. Elizabeth, you know, this is one of those markets where you start to see sellers get greedy. Yeah. And I've seen it personally. I know it's a dangerous thing to do, but what specifically are the dangers to overpricing your home when you're in a neighborhood where you keep seeing people sell their houses and you're like, I can't believe it sold for that much? You know, what is the danger that you run if you overprice your home in this market?
Well, you know, drastically overpricing your home has always been dangerous, but every year it gets a little bit more dangerous because buyers have access to more and more information as time goes on. And they're very well informed, they're doing their research, they're looking online, and they're usually working with a very experienced agent who knows how to pull comparable sales and will steer them away from a drastically overpriced home. The danger is always really, as it comes down to it, of overpricing your home is you may end up getting less than what it's actually worth. And you can never go wrong by pricing it at market value or a little bit under, but when you price it over market value, initially, like for example, let's just use 500,000 because it's a nice round number. Sure. Say buyers are looking from 475 to 500 and your house is worth 499. If you price it at 520, for starters, they may never even see the home because it's not going to show up in any of their alerts. They set their alerts for a certain amount and they're not going to look over that because they're going to think that they can't afford it. So for starters, it might not ever even show up in their inbox. If it doesn't show in their inbox, they don't walk in the door. If they don't walk in the door, they never have a chance to write an offer.
So let's call that danger number one.
Danger
number one is that you miss the opportunity to use the list price as a tool to drive more people into the home to see it.
Exactly.
So you miss out on that.
Yep.
Okay, that's danger number one.
And it's commonly understood among agents that the best time and the most activity, and you put your best foot forward. It's like that saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Same thing goes when you sell your house. So you want to really maximize the market that first week on the market. And if your home is overpriced, what's going to happen is people are not just looking at your house. They're looking at all the houses in the neighborhood. If yours is the most expensive home in the neighborhood, they're going to go into your house, they're going to walk into somebody else's house, and it's going to seem like a bargain, and they're going to write an offer on that house. So that's danger number two.
Ah, that is I didn't even think about that one, which is that all the other houses now look like bargains in comparison to yours, and everybody wants a bargain.
Right.
So the things that you think might make your house worth more, the extras that you have, may not even get considered because the other place looks like a bargain.
Exactly.
That's huge. That's a big one.
And you got to remember, you're not the only house on the block that's selling. You're not the only house in San Diego that's selling. You have competition. So a really well-informed agent and a really well-informed seller will know that. They'll know what's selling in their area, and they're not going to drastically overprice it compared to other homes that have similar features. Another really negative thing that probably a lot of people don't think about is that really good agents, and there's a lot of us nowadays. I mean, when the market fell apart, it got rid of a lot of, bad agents and bad mortgage people. They don't want to take an overpriced listing because they don't want it to reflect poorly on them, because that's their credibility. And so when you insist on overpricing your home, you might actually lose the opportunity to work with a really well-qualified agent because they're not going to take it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point too. Why is it that home sellers, I understand when home sellers start getting greedy. It actually scares me for the marketplace as a whole. When I start seeing that, it scares me a lot. But why is it that they think that the listing price is what you want to get an offer for? It's so strange, right? Because especially in some of those really, like you mentioned, 500,000. Well, what if you think your home's worth 525? Is it bad ethics to list it at 499, or is that smart? And is that savvy selling?
It's savvy selling, and it's been tried and true and proven. I've done it myself. And that's kind of what I said. There's no danger to pricing your home below market value. There just isn't, because what happens is more buyers come and see it, more people walk in the door, and more people write offers, and then it creates the auction effect and the bidding war. And I've never had a single time where getting multiple offers ended up to be a bad thing. It's just never, ever happened. But if you look at the opposite side of the coin, again, you say it's worth 525, I'd list it at 519. That way people who set their cutoff at 520 are still walking in the door. Gotcha. Because once you get them in the door, if they fall in love with the house, well, then they're going to find that extra 5,000. But if they never walked in the door, it's not going to happen. In fact, I just closed one in December where it was priced at a certain amount, and we ended up buying at a certain amount, which was actually more than they had wanted to spend. But they fell in love, and they found that money, and it happens all the time. Yeah. So the most important thing is getting them in the door. Nobody's ever going to buy a house that they haven't seen.
Right. And I think and where that can be misconstrued, I think in some cases by some agents, is when people start doing these open houses with the taco trucks and all that stuff. I mean, hey, it's cute and it does get people there, but are those really home buyers? I don't know. But the listing price, that's a legit tool. If someone comes into the house because of that, that's probably a buyer. Right. So that's a tool that you could really, really use to drive traffic. And I know people are driving traffic from a lot of different angles. And there's really no bad traffic, but there is traffic that's better. Right. And I think that traffic that's driven by price is better than not. And a lot of, I've continued to hear people say, well, I know my house is worth probably only $550, but I really want to get $590. Okay. So what's the
I want a pony. Doesn't mean I'm going to get one.
Right. Well, is the path to getting $590? I think a lot of home sellers think the path to getting $590 is to list it at $599. And that's how we're going to let them know that we want $590 for this house.
No. What happens is it makes you look a little bit unreasonable, especially if it sits on the market for a few weeks. Time is of the essence. That's another thing. I like to call it a stain on a property. Even if you list it now and it expires or it doesn't sell and you relist it, that listing never goes away. People can see that. It's in public records. It's in Realtor.com. It's in Trulia. It's in Zillow. So you don't do this test the market thing because it's not like people aren't going to see it. They're going to see it. It's out there for the world. They already know you tried and failed once. Here you go again. So it's better to just get it right the first time because, again, especially if you've been on the market 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you're still at that price, you're going to look like an unreasonable seller, and people aren't going to want to work with you.
So there's a number of dangers to overpricing your home, and I think people not seeing it, who might be the perfect buyer, is the number one issue. Because the thing that I continue to hear is, but it only takes one buyer, right? If you find that one family, this is just perfectly close to work and home and all, and school, then they'll pay this much for it. But if that's true, then how are you going to find that one family? Right. Casting a big net or a narrow one? I think that's the message that we have to get across, because right now I think is not the time to be greedy.
It's really not.
In this marketplace.
There was a lot of people who waited to see what was going to happen to the election, and I know that there's a lot of pent-up sellers right now who are going to be looking for agents and looking to sell. Nothing has changed. You still have to do it smart. You still have to price it right. You still have to prepare the home properly. You still have to hire a really good agent like myself who knows what they're doing and can be honest with you and show you the market data to support what you want to sell your house for.
Correct. And just one more thing, Elizabeth, while I have you here, champ. Interest rates went up.
Yes.
Have you seen that ripple into the marketplace yet?
Not yet. It's really new, and they haven't gone up too much, but I expect to see them go up again this year, and I am a little bit nervous about what that's going to do. It's going to decrease some people's purchasing power. So again, as a seller, you need to make sure that you're reasonable because it's going to get more expensive for buyers to buy, so you don't want to overinflate the value of your home and then make it that much harder or eliminate that many more people.
And I think that we're still in a spot where the sellers have a big advantage in the marketplace. It's still seller's advantage. Okay, advantage sellers still exist, but how long will that last? You know, I think we might be at the tail end of it, especially if we see rates go up again. That would really make it more difficult for the seller's market to remain. So if we are at the tail end of a seller's market, if I'm right, which I may not be, if I am, then it would be a much wiser move to sell now. Because you know what we found out, you know, last year just doing Win This Listing, I mean, several of the people who we did the show with were people who had been waiting for years to sell. They had decided collectively as a family, we want to sell years prior, but they couldn't get their butts in gear because they're getting paid to wait the way they see it. You know, the market keeps going up. Well, we can just sit here and we'll just keep waiting, you know? But if that's the case, then if you're in that boat, I would say now might be time to throw the sails up. You know what I mean?
This is going to be a really big and really important year. I think a lot of us are kind of looking at this year with bated breath to try to see what's going to happen. And you may be right. It may be a really good year to sell if you're planning on selling in the next few years. If your goal is still to hold long, true, steady, then you might be okay. But you're going to want to watch the market. And if it starts taking a dive, which I don't think it will, I think it's going to normalize. It might be even a little flat or maybe, you know, marginal 2 to 5% gains, which is still really, really good historically speaking. But I don't expect it to crash. But if it does, call me as fast as possible.
Yeah. And if you wait until it's crashed, then it's probably too late.
Yeah.
But you can get ahead of it, I think, right now, for sure. Will we see another good year? Possibly. But we're for sure still in a seller's market right now, and that's when you want to sell. So that's what my advice would be. Champ, thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate it.
What effect will Trump's administration policies have on our local economy? Please welcome the top North County agent, Ryan Street.
There he is. Street, how you doing, man?
Good, Derrick. Good. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Derrick. Yeah.
So, a couple things to touch on today. First of all, we have a new president.
We do.
And a new administration coming in. We want to talk about their effect on the local economy, local real estate. We also want to touch on the current market conditions for real estate here in San Diego. And then, of course, this inventory shortage, which seems to be the main driving factor for the price increases that we've seen. Some of them have been crazy.
Nuts, yeah, for sure.
I've seen. So let's start with the new administration coming in. What do you believe that the impact will be here locally with that?
You know, I think it'll be positive. The military is going to be built back up. At least that's fair to speculate on. More money pouring into the area. Additionally, I think the catalyst to continue to propel things will be the tax cuts he's talked about, both personal and corporate. If that happens, it's going to put money back in the pocket of corporations to hire more people, or individuals to have larger percentage discretionary spending every month.
I noticed when Trump won that the defense stocks really did well. And so I immediately thought, wow, that's going to be good for San Diego because we got a lot of those companies here.
Biotech too.
Yeah, that as well. So it looked to me like that was like immediately, wow, big win for San Diego.
Right.
Whether, we voted, I think, mostly for Hillary here. But, those Trump voters like me, those darn Trump voters.
Deplorables.
There's deplorables. This is actually a big win for San Diego because, from the local economy perspective.
Right.
Because those companies that are going to benefit a lot from those circumstances are here. A lot of them are.
Right.
And that's so that's going to be a good thing. Do you think that will get all the way to the real estate market?
You can only, I think so. I strongly believe that actually. San Diego is, America's greatest city, more or less, depending on, what you like, I suppose.
I think it is.
It's a pretty nice place. So,
yeah, not bad.
I'm from Minnesota, where if you jump on weather.com right now, you're going to not want to be there. But Yeah, it's going to have to. There's only so much dirt, and the county's developed in the coastal areas about as far as it can go. What I'm seeing is the flip business is pretty much dead. Where investors are transitioning to is buying lots and developing new builds.
Really?
Yeah, if you go up I-15, say north of the 78 intersection, just about any piece of property that could be built on has been prepped, and if there's not a sign in front of it, there's one coming. Things are getting tidied up. You've had, the Lilac Hills thing got voted down in November, but it's not going away. It will happen eventually. How it's structured, nobody knows. But, there's millions of people want to live here, and there's only so much. There's only so many houses.
For,
so
last decade, right?
For
way
real,
more people moving here than we do have units being built.
Right. And builders have transitioned from just building arbitrarily and hoping they sell to building a phase, making sure it sells to a certain percentage before they start phase two, so they don't get caught holding a bunch of inventory should the market change.
A lot of multifamily too.
Absolutely.
Those builders went away from the whole condo idea and just said,
right.
Let's build apartment buildings.
Absolutely.
A lot of those still going in, especially in a downtown.
And the rental market is also what's, I think, contributing to the price increases. The clients that I have that have sold and have not opted to buy it right away, they're facing 10 to 14% rent increases from their existing lease to the next one. Landlords are already indicating what the rent will be when this lease expires, and it's significant.
And on the other side of that, there are a lot of investment property owners who are unaware of all this and who have neglected to increase rent, and they are way behind. Like, I know people who are paying way below market value.
Right.
In rent, way below, like $1,000 a month
right.
below market value.
Yeah.
A bunch of people. So they're, in other words, it still hasn't even, it's so new, it hasn't even caught up to all of the property owners, for sure, believe it or not. And that right there, if it had, we would have an even bigger problem on our hands.
Indeed.
As far as the rental shortage and the unit, the housing shortage that we've got.
Right.
So that's definitely an issue. And that's on the rental side. And we also, do you think that the inventory shortage as far as for sale homes, is that the main reason why we're seeing prices go up so much?
It's one of the biggest, if not the main, supply and demand, rule one economics, if supply is below demand, prices are going up. The interest rate, speculation on the interest rate hikes that are coming are driving a lot of folks. I know I have 51 active buyers right now that are looking, and they're looking to close in the next anywhere from 30 to 180 days. A large portion of them have shortened their time frame for getting into a place to even where they're paying to break a lease because their fear is, interest. They'll be able to afford less home if they wait too long, and additionally compounding that is with prices going up. The thing I think will offset any interest rate hike is the tax reduction that the president-elect has talked about. That's, if he pulls it off, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it'll be big.
Yeah,
it should have a big impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
well, hopefully,
discretionary
my
income.
fingers are crossed.
Yeah, right. So,
well, I think that the inventory shortage is one of those things that it doesn't last forever. At least you don't think it will. But then you look at certain markets like San Francisco, and you go, gosh, it's been like that for years and years and years and years and years there, where there's very few homes that actually hit the market. And that's why the market is so crazy there. I feel like we have a less dense geography to deal with here, but we still have the same supply-demand population growth issue going on. We don't have a lot of people who leave San Diego. People figure it out. They figure it out. They figure out how to stay. So as a result of that, even if the market softens, do you believe that there's room for prices to ever come down at this point?
Eventually, at some point, something will change. I don't know when or what that will be. I try to focus on a 30, 60, 90-day picture, depending on the circumstances and who I'm working with. If the market indications are pointing towards listing sooner than later, I'll do what I can to compel somebody to list sooner than later. But it also ultimately boils down to everybody's individual circumstances. But the inventory thing, I checked this morning, as I do just about every day. I forget the exact number in San Diego County, but total homes available we're 4,760 somewhere around there, or translating to 1.6%, or I'm sorry, 1.6 months of inventory. Whereas we know it's average inventory is 6 months, so we're well below that. We've been well below that, and I think sellers additionally contributing to the low inventory. Sellers are much more aware of market conditions, and they're hanging tight unless they have circumstances that really compel them to list now.
That's something that I've noticed in casting for our reality show, Win This Listing, talking to a lot of home sellers. There are a lot of people who have been waiting to sell for years because they feel like they're getting paid to wait. Why would we sell now when prices are obviously going up?
Right.
I mean, they're going to be higher in 3 months. They're going to be higher in 6 months. May as well stick it out.
Exactly.
Honey, you think we can stick it out if we're going to make more money? And so you have people stick around. Now that's the big question, though.
Exactly.
When the first shoe drops, how many of the homeowners out there who haven't sold but have wanted to are going to come to the table and go, okay, now it's time?
Right.
And then will that be enough? Will that inventory get swallowed up by the demand, or will we have, a correction as a result? That's the big question.
Ooh, I think that, you're absolutely right. What you're alluding to is sellers identifying, okay, we want to list now, and all of them doing it at the same time, or a lot of them doing it at the same time, and jumping inventory, by 10, 15, 20%, and staying there, for weeks. Or adding 10% per week or something like that. But as long as interest rates are low, people maintain, kind of their plan. I think the first potential for that would be, the hot months, June, July, August. Some folks are still kind of tied to the school year, and they need to wait. That would be probably the first risky period, maybe this year. But as far as definitively saying, okay, this is when you need to list, or this is when the market's going to flood with inventory, that I can't say.
Oh, yeah, we'd have no idea there.
Right.
It's just a wild, systematic, wild-ass guess.
If that happens, if 5,000 homes come to market in the next 60 days, and we're still maintaining homes that are going pending or closing are outpacing new listings coming to market for now.
Right.
So
if that were to flip-flop, then we'd find out.
Then we'd have all the answers we wanted or didn't want. So.
Well, until then, Mr. Street, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
You bet.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go.
No, I can't either. I'm starting to get hangry and I have way too much stuff to do today. Claudia, you've got this, right?
Sure, guys. I would love to. I'll get right to work.